Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
The name's Chancellor, Ashley Chancellor.
The name's Gio, Zachary Gio.
And this is Collateral Gaming.
Ba-da-ba-da! Welcome back to Collateral Gaming, everybody. The only video game podcast that matters. We are back with part 2 of our discussion of, EA Games, James Bond 007, Nightfire. Ash and I both... Well, Ash played it on Dolphin. I played it on GameCube as a kid. But it came out on the PlayStation 2, original Xbox, and the GameCube. And I think there was a PC port at one point, but it was... Hot Dog Water. That's actually the one I tried to play when I realized that we were going to talk about it. But
Really?
I couldn't find it anywhere that wasn't either dark web related or full of just malware. And I was like, nope. So I put it on Dolphin. But this game is a lot of fun. It's a really, really good tie-in for Die Another Day. It's kind of like the movie that the game is based on. We covered all of that in part 1. But man, what a super spy action thriller video game. Each mission kind of throws you in and allows you to truly experience what it's like to be a 00 agent. Because even the I noticed this, even the easiest difficulties they're intense and they kind of pull you in and force you to get involved. Because whether or not you're playing on the easiest or the hardest difficulty, there are still things you can do called Bond moves that make you feel like a super spy, because you don't have to do them. But if you can pull them off, or if you find them out, they're kind of little, I guess you could call them Easter eggs. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like there's the first full mission of the game, you are supposed to infiltrate a party so that you can kind of sneak into a meeting about an acquisition of a certain type of technology. And at the beginning of that mission, when you're trying to get into the castle, there's like a fuse box inside one of the security bunkers.
Yeah.
And you can you can choose to open it up and cut the alarm system off. But if you accidentally snip the wrong wire, you'll set off the alarm and alert everybody that you're there.
Right.
I made that mistake.
Me too. Both of us. Why did we hit the red wire? Well, you know what? Like
color coding.
I didn't think it would be that obvious, I guess. I'm looking at the wires, and I didn't actually think the green wire would be the good thing and the red wire would be the bad thing. But in every instance in this game, that is actually the case.
Well, it's hilarious because, you would think that they might mix it up and try to throw you off, but no, they went right in there on that trope, like, don't cut the red wire. So, for a game that started development in 2000, I believe, is when they started working on this game. Yeah, it says I'm looking at a Wikipedia page because Wikipedia is super reliable. But it says the game had been in development as early as September 2000, and it was just called James Bond 007. But in February 2002, the working title was James Bond in Phoenix Rising, and then they gave you that. They gave you the actual title.
The second of a trilogy of games, I believe, right?
Maybe. I believe so.
I think Agent Under Fire, and then this one, and then like one more, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a trilogy? Dude, if it's a trilogy, I'm going to have to go back and play like Agent Under Fire and whatever the third one is. What's the third one? Now I kind of want to get into the nitty-gritty of it. You'd think we'd know this at this point. But Nightfire is the only one I played back then, because that was the only game like that my parents would let me play.
Everything or Nothing. That's the next one.
That sounds like an awesome game. Is it on the GameCube?
Let's see. Yeah, GameCube, PS2, and Xbox. So this was published by EA, as mentioned earlier, and developed by Eurocom. Agent Under Fire and Everything or Nothing were actually developed by EA Redwood Shores.
Oh, so they probably have a similar level design.
I believe that's the developer behind the original Dead Space.
Ooh, and the original Dead Space is killer. Which that's cool because you have a different developer, but you kind of have the same level design and base feel to the game. I wonder how differently they feel. Did you play Phoenix Rising and Agent Under Fire? Or sorry, not Phoenix Rising. Oh, Agent Under Fire and what was the last one called?
Everything or Nothing. No,
typical Bond name.
Actually, the only Bond games that I have played are GoldenEye, which we covered on the podcast, and this one.
Great game. So, yeah, I think we said that. Not yesterday. Monday. Or no, it was Sunday when we recorded.
We mentioned that GoldenEye is the only one of the James Bond games that's directly adapted from a film that has been well received.
The remakes of that game have not been well received, though. They tried remaking GoldenEye for the Wii. That game sucked. It was terrible. The multiplayer was fun, though, because it was a lot smoother.
But there was a remake of it I thought that was good, where they used Daniel Craig instead and modernized the whole thing.
Yeah, that was the Wii version, and it was terrible. The story mode was just not... It wasn't that good because they tried to modernize it too much, and they changed every single one of the characters. And my problem with that was, they took what made GoldenEye basically out of it, which is... they didn't take Xenia Onatopp out. And I know we're not talking about that, but this is kind of a more open-ended one because we covered a lot about Nightfire on Sunday. So to be able to talk more about this for an hour, it's just kind of... We'd be beating a dead horse, and we're not about animal cruelty. We're about weed.
This is our chance to not only talk about the story and the characters in more depth, but to also connect more with other games in the franchise. So there's a lot of leeway here.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, you and I both have the Dolphin emulator on our computers, so we could probably download the GoldenEye remake.
Oh yeah,
and play it. I'm sure that wouldn't go well at all, but it would still be fun to give it a shot. After we played after we recorded on Sunday, we played Tony Hawk Underground 2 for like 30 minutes. It was a good time. But the whole process of creating these games. You would think that there would be a lot of planning and thought process going into it because GoldenEye was such a hit on the Nintendo 64 because it was a really well adapted game from the movie. You would think that these next games would be based off of movies, but they weren't. They literally just created whole Bond stories out of thin air to make banger games, and that's... Nightfire is kind of based off of Die Another Day, but the characters and the plot line, it's different.
Right.
So it's fascinating to me how they just didn't create movies about these. They just made games that were hits. And it kind of adds to the, validity of the 007 franchise. Because, Ian Fleming's been doing this. He wrote books, and then he's been doing this since, I think, the 50s or 60s. I don't remember when exactly Dr. No came out, but that was the first Bond film. Let me see.
The first Bond film
1962.
Yeah, was Dr. No. The first Bond story was Casino Royale, but there was a whole rights issue with that, so we didn't get a proper adaptation of it until recently, unless you count the parody film that came out that was a non-Eon film.
We're not going to talk about that. Speaking of Casino Royale, have you seen the Daniel Craig movie?
I haven't, actually.
Are you kidding me?
No, I've seen Skyfall. I think that's the only Daniel Craig movie I've actually seen.
Are you... Ash, when you're here, by the way, Ash is coming out to hang out with me and my wife the last weekend of October. We're going to celebrate the launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and we're probably going to play through a good bit of Echoes of Wisdom, because why the hell not? But dude, when you're here, we have to watch Casino Royale. That movie, that's one of my favorite movies ever.
It's on my list.
So good.
Yeah, I really do want to check it out. In fact, I can kind of getting interested in watching a lot of the Bond films that I haven't seen before. Mostly, actually, I think I watched the Pierce Brosnan ones growing up, and even those was forever ago. So I watched GoldenEye and I watched Die Another Day, which is the tie-in film for this game, to prepare for the episode a little bit, just because I knew we're going to be kind of light on the story here, but. Yeah, I mean, Die Another Day is not, it's
good at all.
It's entertaining. It's a popcorn movie, and it's everything you want out of a Bond film. I would say this game has a better story than Die Another Day.
Yeah, I mean, everybody went nuts when Halle Berry came out of the ocean in a bikini, and everybody knew that she was going to be the catch for the movie.
Yeah,
and then she turns out not to be. Which makes no sense at all until the very end of the movie when I think they're about to jump out of a plane with a whole bag of diamonds. I don't remember much about that movie, but the woman that he was interested in turned out to be like the main bad guy's henchman, the one that goes through the jet engine at the end of the game.
That's a recurring pattern, right? You usually have one Bond girl that's bad, that usually betrays Bond at some point midway through the story. Or in the case of GoldenEye, I think she was just bad the whole time.
You know what's crazy? That doesn't happen once in the Daniel Craig saga. Not one time is there a woman that Daniel Craig or Bond gets involved with that ends up stabbing him in the back. Not once. It's kind of refreshing, actually. In fact, you've seen Skyfall, so this isn't a spoiler. Severine, the woman that the main bad guy put the shot glass on top of her head and just shot her in the head.
Oh, yeah.
She was with him and then turned against him at the end, and that's why he killed her.
Yeah. Yeah, but I like Bond girls in this one. I mean, we touched on it earlier because you have you have the one that betrays him, Kiko. You have Dominique, who you rescue in the very beginning of the game, just for her to die towards the climax.
That's fine with me. She's annoying.
And then you have Agent Allura. That's the one that he actually ends up with.
Yeah.
Agent Nightshade is in this as well. She's in the beginning sections, and then she kind of just disappears.
Yeah, I wish they would have given more backbone to her story towards the end.
But Allura McCall, that's the girl that he actually ends up with at the end of the story. And I mean, I got to tell you, I love the range of accents here. Every time I get into a Bond film, with the Bond girls, that's the fun part, right? Is he going to end up with a Russian? Is he going to end up with another Brit? Is he going to end up with an Australian, like in Nightfire?
Maybe.
Because I mean, I got to tell you, I'm a sucker for accents. That's a fact.
I could do with or without.
Like,
I could do with or without, but I don't blame you at all, because I mean there are a lot of women that find accents attractive in men, especially British accents. I don't understand why.
Honestly, me too, actually, because every time Pierce Brosnan or even the Pierce Brosnan sound-alike in this game opens their mouth, I'm like, ooh, okay.
Ooh, oh my gosh. He's actually not too far off from Pierce Brosnan. He does a good job. Who's the guy that voices
Max Caulfield or something? Let me look it up real quick.
Maxwell Caulfield.
Yep, that's it. Maxwell Caulfield.
He looks nothing like Pierce Brosnan. Oh, he was in Grease too, dude.
He does a good voice. Yeah, he's and Brosnan has a little bit more of an Irish accent. So it was interesting to see a British voice actor do that so well. Yeah, I mean, I in my mind, if I didn't know going into it that it wasn't Pierce Brosnan, and I wouldn't have known the difference, because I can hear him say the one-liners, and it's like, yeah, no, I can buy it. And he looks just like Brosnan. I mean, they modeled him off of his likeness, so we've got, we mentioned that in the first part that the character model is pretty good.
Okay, so I have some funny news to share. All right, so this game was pretty well received all around. Like, I mean, I loved it, so I can't imagine how many people didn't enjoy it. You said you had a great time with it. I mean, you played the hell out of it preparing for this.
Yeah, I played through the game at least twice through, replaying several of the missions a few times. Enough, like I said, to get gold on every level and platinum on one.
Bro, this game, it got the highest score from Metacritic on the GameCube, which is awesome. It got a higher score on the GBA than it did on the PC.
Well, that should be no surprise because the PC port apparently removes huge sections of the game. So actually, you dodged a bullet not playing the PC port because the PC port actually removes all of the driving sequences.
I'm guessing computers at that time couldn't handle that?
At that time, I remember PC games were always the lesser ports. They were always the ports that were a little bit different, that there wasn't quite as much content in.
Oh, God.
I remember, like, the Harry Potter games on PC were pretty good, but they were inferior to the console versions. Like, you know what I mean? They were fun. They were just a whole different thing that weren't nearly as big. And in this case, it's the same game mostly. They just removed a few things, so it's obviously not the better version. Now, you're best going off with emulating this on the GameCube, PS2, or Xbox. I didn't have a lot of luck doing this on Xbox, but it's possible that my hardware just isn't good enough for emulating Xbox games. I'm not sure, but it ran beautifully on Dolphin, as we mentioned previously.
Well, we will get you eventually hooked up. Which, by the way, at the time of recording this, Ash, don't you have some pretty bomb-ass news to share with everybody here?
I don't know if I want to talk about work on the podcast, but yeah, I got a promotion, so to speak. I'll be hired internally at the company that I'm working at rather than working through the boot camp training program who were taking a percentage of my paycheck. And the best part is that I get to negotiate my salary. So, yeah, we're talking a pretty substantial increase from what I'm currently making. So it's very exciting news for me. And it means that I'll be able to
build
invest
a computer.
more. That too, but I invest more in the podcast, which might include building a PC. First things first, I need to get a new computer. Actually, I have been saving up for one.
Well, the reason I brought it up, not to get us sidetracked, it's just I'm happy for you and I'm proud of you, and I think you deserve to gloat a little bit because you've been busting ass for these guys for a little while, and in all honesty, shout it to the rooftops, man, because that's huge. That's where you're at right now, that kind of increase and that kind of step up, it's huge, and it's going to mean big things for everything you got going on.
Well, so it's not like working for MI6.
No, dude, because that would mean you'd basically have to be, to do what he does, you'd basically have to be an orphan and be alone all the time, which is really sad. But you get the women, you get the fast cars, you get the gadgets, and all of that's you get shot at.
And get shot at. That's at Nightfire 2.
You get shot at a lot. Also, dude, the cover of this game... Oh, man, the cover of this game looks so good. It looks like a movie. And they even have the Lionsgate logo at the beginning of the loading screen.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, this definitely looks and feels like a Bond movie. Albeit, graphics at this era, but the pre-rendered cutscenes are quite good. I'm watching one of them right now where we see a Bond and Agent Nightshade pop into the snowmobile.
Ah, yes, the escape from the castle sequence. That is a really great sequence. It's the first time you go through it, it's kind of tough because you can't really predict where they're going to be at unless you've played the mission a bunch. And if you're playing on a higher difficulty, dude, those machine guns will rip through your armor so fast. Yeah. And I think in Double O Agent, you don't get armor, right?
There is armor in the level. You still find it because the thing is that if you want to get a high score, you have to try not to lose any health at all, if possible. So finding armor is pretty much essential in the Double O Agent levels. That being said, I think in all of the driving sequences or the on-rail sequences, they actually do allow some leeway with the health. And I think the target health is a little bit lower than 100% just because they expect that you are going to get shot at a little bit. You can't avoid it.
What's crazy to me is that you in order to platinum I know because I've done this. In order to platinum that mission where you're driving away in the snowmobile, you literally have to memorize where the enemies are coming out at. You have to memorize every angle because in order to platinum it, you can't really take a shot. And so you have to memorize every aspect of that mission, and it can get frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced that already trying to platinum these levels, or even gold rank is just trying to get like near perfect accuracy. At times I was trying to actually achieve 100% accuracy, but in some cases the game just doesn't allow you to do that. You're gonna have to, like I think in the underwater level, if you try to take any of the enemies down, like you try to dispatch them and you use like more than one missile, and they all take more than one missile, for some reason it counts against your accuracy. So I ended up sneaking by a few of them, so just to avoid missing out on accuracy. Then I got myself between a rock and a hard place because I'm reloading the same section using save states, trying to avoid taking a hit, but also trying to avoid destroying the enemies. So I'm trying to like sneak past them without losing any health, and it's very difficult.
I can imagine because they're pretty much locked onto your position at any given moment on that mission.
And they don't give you armor until near the end.
No, they do not. I've been meaning to ask you. I don't think we talked about this on Sunday, but what's your favorite mission in the game?
Well, we talked about a lot of our favorites, and you mentioned yours. I don't know if I picked a specific favorite because I'm trying to think.
Because I know you enjoyed the whole game, and there wasn't really a mission that honestly dragged on for you.
I think I had the most fun with Equinox, the final level, because I mean, you go to fucking space, and it's the first level where I actually attempted to get like to make a perfect round, and hit every and it's very methodical. Like a bunch of enemies pop out, you headshot them real quickly, and then by the time you're done with that wave of enemies, the next missile is ready for you to shoot the joint and deactivate.
I will forever love Countdown, dude. That mission is so good.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time. Countdown's a great fucking level because it's
hard.
It is just there's only one bond move that you can get on that level, so really it is just get good. It's just, and you unlike a lot of other levels, you can't really avoid the enemies. You pretty much have to clear them. There's nothing you can do except for wipe out all of those enemies. But like I said, it's not so difficult if you have the aims 20. But even then, I found myself reloading several times to try to get that perfect score, and then trying to save my ammunition. Thankfully, they're very liberal with it in that level because there are so many enemies. You'll be picking up tons of ammo and tons of grenades. So by the time you get to the end where you're fighting Rook, like I mentioned in the previous part, I mean, I just fired several grenades to his face with the Ames 20 grenade launcher mode.
Dude, Armitage Rook. Such a badass henchman.
Seriously, though, I mean, that's that motherfucker. We talked about this, but he's the motherfucker that just does not die. So I imagine that he was one of the characters that people really wanted to unlock. Because you see him you see him even in like the loading screen artwork for the multiplayer modes. You're like, and okay, you're gonna get to play as him.
Well, one of the things that kind of sucks about it though is there's not really a benefit to unlocking those characters because there's no health buff. I think it's more of a it's more of just a cosmetic design. The only benefit that you get the only benefit that you get from unlocking the characters is you get Oddjob's hat, and I love that fucking hat, dude. It's great.
Oh yeah, I remember you fired that hat at me, and I was like, "What?
What is that?"
I know. I saw like a fucking hat fly by me, and I'm like, "What?"
The anger that you felt from dying from that hat multiple times and confusion, it brought me so much life. I know that's a rude thing to say, but it did. It brought me life because I love killing people with that hat. Actually, my trumpet professor in college, we had a barbecue at his house every single year to celebrate the trumpet studio, and we would play Super Smash Brothers and GoldenEye 007. And hey, what do you recommend for like 7-zip files?
Like
what program? Because this WinZip shit doesn't work anymore. and I'm not paying for it.
I think I have a tool. I think I'm on Mac, and I have I think it's called like the Unarchiver. Yeah, I think that's the one that I found. I don't know if that's a Mac OS exclusive or not. That was just a free one that I found that worked with my operating system, and I've had for however long.
Yeah, that works. Well, I'm trying to add to my collection of Dolphin games.
Ah.
Yes, and which is probably cheating. And Nintendo, you can't hear this. You don't know what's happening. La 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 la.
You know what I'm kind of lamented by is the fact that there are so many different weapons and gadgets and things that you can use in this game, but you really don't have an opportunity to use all of them very much in a playthrough of the game. I mean, replaying the levels over and over again, you can kind of experiment, but I mean, for some gadgets, there's only a handful of use cases, and especially in like the driving levels, you get all of these like Q gadgets that you can use on the road, but they're pretty much just used for scripted sequences. Like you can fire gas behind you, or you can do the Q wedge, I think, just in that opening sequence. I can't think of another place in the game where I've been able to use that and wedge myself between two cars.
Yeah.
Or the EMP that you use in the tutorial level. So I guess if there's anything I'm disappointed by, it's the fact that this game is so short, so there's really not a whole lot of opportunity to use absolutely everything. But at the same time, I do admire its brevity and the fact that, you know, it's paced just like a Bond movie. I mean, if it was any longer, it wouldn't feel that way. And I mean, true to form, I mean, Bond typically would only use a particular gadget once and exactly once whenever he needed it, right? You know, there's always that sequence where Q shows him all the gadgets in the beginning, and then, you know, Bond finds one specific use out of every single gadget exactly once in the film, and it's exactly what he needs. I know they tried to move away from that later, you know, but that's just the formula.
I like how the game is paced so incredibly well. Just because there's no rush to anything, nothing gets spoiled. The storytelling is great, the pacing is awesome. And to be honest, a lot of games nowadays could take a page out of these older games books. People are so impatient nowadays to get quality content out that they're just shoveling shit into people's mouths. And I really think that Nightfire did an excellent job of telling you a good story while also allowing you to enjoy action-packed sequences. And it's a testament to EA Games before they became money-hungry sluts.
My loyal associates, before we cross into the void of space, it's time to unveil the final stages of Operation Nightfire. Of course, our new order will be resisted, but we have the ultimate leverage.
The launch timetable has been moved up.
If we hurry, we can still catch it. By the way, who are you?
Shaken, not stirred. Or is it stirred, not shaken?
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Good evening, 007. As a double O agent, you may have to answer aggression with aggression.
Hang on to me, Zoe.
I thought you'd never asked.
Please try to return these tools in usable condition. But I shan't hold my breath.
You saved my life. How will I repay you?
If I live through this, I'll need a large socket and one hell of a massage.
On a fool's errand, Mr. Bond.
That one's a nasty bit of business, isn't it? Lock the castle down. Now!
Don't get any ideas, 007.
Prepare for liftoff. Operation Nightfire has begun.
Deploy the red team and take him down!
How does it feel to be beaten, James?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for a licensed game, this is about as good as it gets, especially in this era. I mean, and again, I think it benefits from being an original story, so they can do whatever they want to do with the game, and it works. And I just think it was fun that every time you'd go into a level, you'd find new weapons and gadgets to use, and kind of experiment with them and try different things. Like, okay, I know that there was this big promotional thing with the shaver. So there's a shaver in the game. I feel like I think I only have seen it in the Double Cross level, but it wasn't particularly useful. But I remember I had the shaver, so I did try to use it. I was like, well, it's a remote detonating bomb, but you have to move really far away from explosions in this game. I've realized.
Yes, you do, because for some reason your hitbox is massive in these games. Like, you can shoot the air an inch to the right of somebody's arm and they'll take damage.
Oh man,
It kind of sucks.
The fucking lasers in Countdown pissed me off because you have to get really far away from them through a door usually. So there's a door. No, in every case, there's a door between you and the lasers. So you have to open the door, back up like 10 fucking feet, and then aim perfectly with whatever weapon you're using and directly at the laser wire. But, if you miss, it just misses. I found that the grenades were pretty useful, though.
Yeah, but grenades are nice. They have a nice hit range, and to be quite honest with you, I think the gunplay in this game is awesome too, because you have you don't have a huge selection of weapons that you can use, but they're all effective and unique, and they pack a punch too. Like, there's 2 different sniper rifles. You've got the Winter Covert sniper rifle and the tactical sniper rifle.
Yeah,
and then you have the samurai and the crossbow.
Dude, yeah, the I don't know the difference between the 2 sniper rifles, but every level that had a sniper rifle, I was like, let's go.
One is silenced and the other one's not. One you can use for covert kills.
That makes sense. And I know most of them have like alternate firing modes too. So, some of the guns have silencers and some of them have different firing modes. I think we mentioned before the PPK Walther, or however you pronounce it, James Bond's gun, his signature gun, has the silencer and then has a burst mode, and so you can pick between the 2. And then other weapons, like your automatic weapons, you can fire automatic or burst. And I think with the burst, you get a little bit more control, even though it's just a short contained burst. So it's just kind of like picking your poison. It's deciding what's going to benefit you. Oh, hey, I have a smoke grenade on hand, or I like in the Phoenix Fire level, which is your second trip to the Tokyo Tower office. They have the Phoenix Ronins, and they'll fire at you as soon as you get within view. So I remember I would come up to the corner and I'd angle a couple grenades, because it takes 2 grenades at it in order to disable it, and then I could fire at the enemies. But if you can manage to get behind the Phoenix Ronin, you can disable it and then you can use it, and that's actually pretty useful for taking out that helicopter that's flying around, because you can lay down the Phoenix Ronin and then you get your Sentinel out. And then you have to be really careful and shoot through the window and not at the window, like a dumbass.
Yeah, I've made that mistake and died that way many times, brother. So don't feel bad.
I watched you do it, actually.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
But yeah, it's pretty easy to make a dumb moment in this game. That's why I'm so happy for save states, because the checkpoints are few and far between. Every time you die, you have to start the entire section of the level back over again.
But that's good, though. Like, that gives you kind of like OG Metroid Prime vibes, where you have to be careful because you will respawn at the last save room. And that makes for intensity. Nowadays, you get everything, just handed to you on a silver platter. Even Metroid Dread did that. You just respawn in the last room, and it's annoying.
There is a sense of urgency, that comes with having, something that Souls games actually brought back.
Yes. Trust me, I know. I have gone through Elden Ring like 4 or 5 times at this point. I still haven't beaten the DLC, though, so I probably should do that at some point.
And having to start over also helps you get better at the level. You become very efficient at it. Because I remember there were cases where I didn't make a save state whenever I should have, and so I would have to start over. Or I was, trying to give myself a little bit of a challenge, and I was trying to redo entire sections and not just, But I would make a save state if I got to a point where I'd replayed this part like several times over, and I was very efficient at it, and I just had no interest in redoing it again and again and again and again.
Yeah. It gets to a certain point where it kind of gets redundant and you're just like, okay, I need to move on.
Yeah. So, but it does encourage you to try these things again and again and again so that you can actually get very efficient with it, and exactly where those enemies are going to come out of so that you can target that headshot and get them. And it just becomes like a whole, again, like I said, it's methodical. There's this method to every level, finding the perfect route that will earn you the most number of points, and that's going to include stealth, speed, and accuracy.
Does finishing the level faster than normal help you with your points?
Yeah, there's a time limit. There's a target time limit on every level. So as long as you get under that limit, you get the bonus points for it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I was on crack as a kid, apparently.
But it gets easier because at first you think, there's no way I could do this level. But the first time you play through the level, you just play it through. Just finish it. Don't worry about getting too many points. If you find bond moves, by all means, seek them out. But, you're just trying to kind of get through the level. And then you can come back and you can try to do a perfect run. Okay, let's make sure that we, learn those enemies. And, it's a blast, man. I really enjoy it. I talked about this last time, and that's something I've talked about on the podcast before that I love about gaming is when there's strategy involved, when you really have to plan things around and know what you're going to do. And that's Nightfire's strength. I mean, not only when it comes to trying to find the best path through the levels, but just all of the different gadgets and everything. It becomes a matter of trying to figure out the best way to use everything and feel like a badass while doing it.
I mean, hey, if they can successfully do that, then they've done their job. And to be honest, I would love for them to come out with a modern 007 game. Could you imagine what they could do with it now? Like a Daniel Craig, like if they made Skyfall into a video game, that would be fantastic.
They did do they have done Daniel Craig games. Let me look at the list real quick because Quantum of Solace is one of them.
That's the worst Daniel Craig movie. It's a good movie, don't get me wrong, but it's the worst one.
And then aforementioned GoldenEye 007 remake, that was a Daniel Craig one. Actually, I think those are the only ones. 007 Legends.
007 Legends. Hold the cellular device, brother.
Okay, yep, that's a Daniel Craig one.
What is it for?
Coincides with the 50th anniversary. So it looks like it's a campaign that includes one mission from each of the 6 actors' eras. So you have a Golden Finger level with Sean Connery, On Her Majesty's Secret Service with George Lazenby, Moonraker with Roger Moore, License to Kill with Timothy Dalton, Die Another Day with Pierce Brosnan, and then later they released a Skyfall level with Daniel Craig.
Dude, I'm gonna have to check that out. That looks sick, actually.
Yeah. Let's see. James Bond 007 Bloodstone. And that is actually set between Quantum of Solace and Skyfall. Yeah. Those are all the Daniel Craig ones. Before that was From Russia with Love. That actually had used Sean Connery's likeness. And that released in 2005.
Oh, that's dope. Well, shoot. But there's nothing in the last 10 years?
So the last game to come out was 007 Legends. That was in 2012. It looks like there is a game in development. It doesn't have an official title yet. It's just Project 007 right now. And it says TBD. This is from the Wikipedia page for James Bond video games.
Dude, I won't hold my breath, but if they give us a modern 007 game and it's done right, you and I are going to play the shit out of that.
Yeah, dude, I'm down. I mean, of course. I mean, as soon as it comes out, we're there. I mean, we've already done 2 James Bond games, so it's only natural.
It's only logical.
There was a game set to adapt Skyfall, but it was canceled.
Well, that sucks because Skyfall would have been an amazing game. Let's be honest
Right?
here.
Yeah. I remember watching it, and yeah, that would make for a good video game. But Nightfire is excellent. I mean, I guess we can kind of get into the story here because, like we've said a billion times already, this very much feels like an iteration of the film franchise. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you start off with rescuing a French intelligence agent on New Year's Eve, and that opens up exactly the way I would expect a James Bond story to open up.
Yeah, and to be honest, the highway chase and flying in a helicopter with a sniper rifle, taking out operatives while just kind of setting your sights, and then getting into the Aston Martin to Vanquish and chasing down the truck and firing the EMP. It kind of sets the tone. It sets the stage for the rest of the game. And to be honest, it gets you pumped up right from the get-go.
It does, and it does that because it actually drops you into that level as a tutorial before you even get to the main menu. The very first time you boot up this game, you got to play through the tutorial. Mind you, this level is much more difficult on replay because they don't freeze time for you to make the shots to various parts of the car. And in order to get all the Bond moves, you have to shoot at the tires of every single car. And let me tell you, that's very difficult. Even with save states. That is just...
They kind of eliminate the whole tutorial aspect. Like, you're on your own, bitch.
Yeah.
Aim small, miss small, brother.
That was a part of the game that was just a chore to get through to get the platinum on it. But I did it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you did it, then that's what matters. Don't ever do it again.
Exactly. So, yeah, every single car they want you to get, every single car that in the helicopter sequence, they want you to hit the tire.
Yeah.
And then you got to collect all the Bond tokens while getting all the Bond moves in the Vanquish during that part of the level. But it's a great fucking introduction. Again, James Bond stories tend to open up this way with Bond already in the middle or at the end of an adventure that will usually connect to the plot, the overarching plot, in a small way, but it's a separate mission.
Yeah.
And in this case, the connecting factor is Dominique, who you later meet when you infiltrate the castle in exchange.
And stick your tongue down her throat in the process.
Yeah. And then Nightshade just pops in and she starts flirting with you anyway, even though she watched you kiss another girl.
Yeah, that's a total Bond moment. Makes absolutely zero sense. But that whole mission, infiltrating and sneaking in to listen to what Drake and the rest of the division are planning, it's actually really cool. And, I mean, essentially, it's a missile guidance chip. It's supposed to be for the space defense platform. It's like a militarized space station built by the U.S., and it's stolen. And MI6, the organization that Bond works for, essentially sends 007 to apprehend it because it could lead to the next giant global conflict. There's I think, what's his name? Alexander Mayhew?
Yeah, he's the one that's bringing the chip to Drake. But then Mayhew drops out in a later level and wants protection from MI6 in exchange for information.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That protection doesn't last very long.
No, it does not. And honestly, good riddance. I wasn't mad at all when he was killed.
Yeah. Yeah, me either. So you go from the New Year's Eve helicopter Vanquish sequence to infiltrating the castle, escaping from the castle in both the snowmobile and the Vanquish. And then finally, we move to Japan, where Mr. Mayhew meets his untimely demise minutes after we get there.
Well, I mean, it's
at the end of the level.
It's to be expected, and while that's happening, basically Bond finds the information that leads him to the offices in the next level, and the nuclear power plant that's being decommissioned. And while you're gathering that information, that's when Kiko, the Bond girl that turns on you, that's when she turns on you and brings you to Drake. And essentially at that moment...
And Dominique dies.
Yeah, that's when she's outed as a spy, and Drake has her killed. Which is really sad, because, she's the one that you started out with in the game, and, nobody wants to see that kind of stuff happen. But I mean, we knew it was coming at some point. We just wasn't sure. We just weren't sure when exactly it was going down.
Right. But you see what I mean, where the pacing of this game works exactly like one of the movies. You're just going from locale to locale, and each level brings you to the next level. And the story is pretty basic. It's nothing to write home about. But it feels...
But it's worth your time.
Yeah, and it feels at home very much within the universe. It's exactly what you expect out of a James Bond story. And you get the added bonus of being able to play as Bond while you do it. And, sneak through the offices of the tower to plant worms on the computers. And, infiltrate the island where... Drake is storing these nuclear weapons for his arsenal, and then eventually go to fucking space.
Yep, and it just kind of has everything that's perfect for a Bond game and for just an action game in general. And if you have a chance to pick it up, whether or not it's on like an older console or if you can emulate it on the computer, because Dolphin runs it really well, you won't be disappointed. It's definitely worth the 3 or 4 hours that it'll take you to get through it.
I mean, we go from Paris to Austria to Japan to wherever the power plant, wherever the power plant was, back to Japan to some island.
I don't know about you, brother, but I never left my house. Well, I mean, that's pretty much it, right? I mean, there's not much more you can really say about it. It's a spy thriller that, if you're not invested in the 007 series, will do a really good job of putting you in a spot where you might want to check it out, because it's a good time.
Yeah, definitely, man. As for final thoughts, I mean, James Bond 007 Nightfire is, again, exactly what I'd expect out of a James Bond video game, but done extremely well. I can see why this is one of the better received games in the franchise, and going from something like GoldenEye to this feels like a natural evolution. It definitely works as a first-person shooter. I love being able to just get down every level into a science and find the way that I can get through the level the best and feel like I really am the titular protagonist. It's a great time, and I recommend it. Go check this out on, again, we recommend the Dolphin emulator in particular, for the GameCube ROM of this game, and it's a great time, man. I easily found myself, spending hours in this game at a time, just trying to, just getting through each level or trying to get the perfect run of every level.
Yep. I mean, hey, if you ever want to spend the time to go back through Ash and try to platinum every level, that would be sick, and I would be so proud of you.
Yeah. And also the multiplayer. I mean, the multiplayer is just a fucking blast, man. I mean,
yeah, it is.
If you could find somebody to play with you, it's not too hard to set up an online session. It is really a lot of fun. You can even throw a few bots in there, and just kill a few hours with your buddies.
Well, it's hard. It was hard for us because we didn't know how buffers worked, so we were just lagging all over the place.
I remember, I think. You were turning it up at first, and then it was like, oh wait, no, actually, you want it down.
Yeah, I had it right, and then I screwed it all up. It was 100% on me.
Well, the initial setting that it was on wasn't quite right, but then you bumped it up and made it worse, and then we found the perfect setting. And we were like, okay. Yeah, and we were like, oh my God. Like, once we figured it out, because we thought something was wrong. Like, our connection was just not good enough, or there was a hardware issue. But nope. Yeah, no, I ran this on my fucking 2013 MacBook Pro. So it's definitely possible. And once we got it down, I mean, it worked perfectly. There was no issue. Of course, we were both connected through Ethernet. That's recommended, but...
Oh, dude, yeah, you don't want to do NetPlay without an Ethernet connection. That's just... I mean, pretty much that's how you want to do most things nowadays. Have an Ethernet connection. But, I mean, I really appreciate everybody who took the time to listen to both of these parts. If you get a chance to, take the time to play through these games, it's going to be a good time for you. I know that Ash and I are probably going to pump out a little bit more content this week. We're looking forward to the start of our next season. And to be quite honest with you, when Ash comes out here, we're probably going to record then too. And so it's what season are we on now, Ash? Season 6?
We are on season 6. We're jumping into season 7.
Season 7
this month.
Dude,
yeah, very soon. I would like to record a Black Myth Wukong episode with you, Zach. Game Lunch review, and then I also want to do a Game Lunch review with Bo on the Ace Attorney Investigations collection, which just released, and I'm having a blast with. Maybe a bonus round if we have time for it, and then hopefully, if all goes to plan, we'll be jump-starting the new season, season 7 of Collateral Cinema with Doom 1993 and 2016 two-part review.
Collateral gaming, brother.
And after that, we start our spooky month. So,
spooky month.
Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is actually going to hit at the end of September, so we should be releasing that towards the beginning of October, and then we'll get into our actual horror game content, which is going to be the Silent Hill 2 remake. So we're going to do the spoiler-free review in part 1, and then the full spoiler review in part 2, like we do with a lot of games. And then our Halloween special is still to be determined. I think we were between Callisto Protocol and Amnesia.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
So one of the two of those. In November, we'll be covering Mario and Luigi Brothership. So we'll be doing, again, part 1 as our spoiler-free Game Lunch review and part 2 as our full spoiler review. And then in December is going to be our Zelda month. Now, I'm calling this season the golden season of Collateral Gaming. And the reason why is because we are going to be doing The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Super Metroid this season. So look forward to Ocarina of Time in December for our Zelda month. And of course, since we didn't get to it this last season, we should be doing our holiday special on The Grinch this year. So that's most of our content through the rest of the year.
Yeah, the Grinch episode is going to be a lot of fun. I can't tell you how many times I've played through and beaten that game. And Ash, when you finally get the chance to play that game, you're going to love every second of it, brother. It's going to be a good time. There's a lot of content that's coming up, and to be honest, we're going to punch through it as much as we can. It's going to be a really good time.
Hell yeah. So if we're lucky, that's the rest of our content. Finishing season 6 of Collateral Gaming and moving into season 7. And man, this has been a great season so far. This is the end of it. So,
hey,
this has been a great season.
You do what you gotta. You do what we gotta do, man, and it's gonna be a good time. And we've got so much content that's coming out. It's gonna be a lot of fun to put together. And to be quite honest with you, I'm looking forward to it and everything that's coming up in the future, because we're going uphill. It's all up here from now, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I guess that'll do it.
Yep. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Spotify, and any other podcast platform that you can think of. Also, check out our Patreon page where we have exclusive Let's Play video game commentaries. And soon I would like to actually start adding to those. I know I've said that for probably a few years now, but maybe season 7 is the year where we finally start jumping back into the Patreon reviews. Also, check out Collateral Let's Play on YouTube. We have that on Collateral Cinema, and we're working to migrate a lot of that over to the Collateral Gaming page as well. And we would definitely like to add some more Let's Plays on our end, not just let Bo do all the heavy lifting with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Also, check out our merch store on TeePublic, where we have everything from T-shirts to baseball caps to tapestries. Yes, we have many tapestries.
Many a tapestry, brother.
Oh, there's your Indiana Jones reference.
Worth it.
So if you want to go support the show, you can do so there. I believe Collateral Media also does have a Go Buy Me a Coffee. So check out links to that in our show notes. And support the show if you feel inclined to. We definitely appreciate it. But I want to take a moment to thank all of our listeners for making this a great Season 6 of Collateral Gaming. We wouldn't be able to do it without you, the people who actually fucking listen to us.
And you know what? We love all of you guys, and to be quite honest, I'm very excited to continue working with Ash and pumping out content for you guys.
Hell yeah, brother.
I appreciate you having me along for the ride, man. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hell yeah, man. All right, brother. Well, I guess that's it. With all that being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor.
I've been Zachary Gio.
And this is Collateral Gaming. Bye! Ba-da-ba-da! Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.